You're not stuck because you're lazy, broken, or unlucky. You're stuck because there is a mental law quietly running your life, and you were never taught how it works. Before we talk about money, success, or mindset, you need to confront something uncomfortable. If you don't understand this law, there's a strong chance the next 5, 10, even 20 years of your life will look dangerously similar to the last 5. Same income range, same emotional patterns, same ideas that excite you, and then die halfway. You've probably felt it. You start a project on fire, a business idea, a new habit, a course. For a few days or weeks, you're unstoppable. Then comes the first obstacle. A bill, a family problem, a moment of doubt. And quietly, almost politely, your enthusiasm shuts down. The project doesn't end with a dramatic decision. It just fades. You tell yourself, now's not the time. You promise? I'll return to it when things calm down. But they never really do they? Napoleon Hill called it a law of the mind. Your dominant thoughts become the script your life obeys. Not the thoughts you post on social media, not the affirmations you repeat once in a while, but the thoughts you return to when no one is watching. If deep down you believe I always mess it up at the end, your mind will guide you elegantly logically to choices that confirm that belief. You'll call it fate, bad timing, or other people. But it's mental coherence. Your results are just being loyal to the inner story you never changed. This video is not about hype. It won't promise you $10,000 months or overnight confidence. It's about something more serious. A decision. Will you keep living on mental autopilot, repeating the same internal script? Or will you finally learn how to command your mind with intention? As you listen, notice where your own patterns appear. If this already feels uncomfortably familiar, stay. Like this video so you can find it again later, and tell me in the comments. In what area of your life do you feel most stuck right now? If you're ready to stop repeating the same year over and over, subscribe. Let that be the line you draw. The moment you decide your mind will no longer run you, you will run it. You don't need another motivational slogan. You need to finally understand why, despite everything you already know, your life insists on repeating the same patterns. Think about your last few years. Different jobs, same frustrations. New relationships, same arguments. Fresh financial goals, same bank balance. On the surface, the details change. But underneath, the result feels strangely familiar. Doesn't it? This is not randomness. It's not how life is. It's a mental law quietly operating in the background. Your dominant thoughts shape your dominant results. Not the thoughts you post online. Not the ones you declare on January 1st. I'm talking about the thoughts that live behind your eyes when no one is watching. The story you secretly tell yourself about who you are, what you deserve, and what is realistic for someone like you. Napoleon Hill called it the dominating thoughts of your mind. They don't just influence your life. They command it. They decide how much risk you tolerate, how quickly you give up, how you react when opportunity knocks, and how you unconsciously push it away. You say you want more income, but your dominant thought is, money always slips through my fingers. You say you want a better body, but your dominant thought is, I never stick to anything. You say you want a fulfilling life, but your dominant thought is, people like me don't get that lucky. So your mind simply obeys. Every time you get close to a breakthrough, that inner script pulls you back to familiar territory. Not because you're weak, not because you're cursed, because your results are being loyal to the mental program you never updated. As you listen, start noticing, where have you seen this movie before in your own life? In your career, your relationships, your finances? If this is already making uncomfortable sense, stay with me. This video is not about instant change, but about finally taking back the steering wheel. You might want to like this now, just so you can find it later because we're going deeper. And tell me in the comments, in what area of your life do you feel most stuck on repeat? If you're ready to stop living on mental autopilot, subscribing isn't just a click. It's your first conscious decision to rewrite that inner script. Pause for a second and look honestly at your own history. How many times have you started something with genuine excitement, only to watch it fade away after the first obstacle? A new course, a side project, a savings plan, a fitness goal. In the beginning, you were convinced, this time it's different. But weeks later, you were back where you started, or worse, a little more disappointed in yourself. You might call it lack of time, bad timing, or life got in the way. But deep down, you know there's more to it. There's a pattern. Think of the last 3 big decisions you postponed. The last 2 opportunities you said no to because you weren't ready. The last moment you had a real chance to stretch. And you chose safety. None of that was random. All of it followed a mental script you didn't write consciously, but you've been following faithfully. This is what Napoleon Hill was pointing to when he wrote about the power of your dominating thoughts. Not the thoughts you post about, but the ones that whisper when no one is watching. I always mess things up. I'm not that type of person. I'll probably fail anyway. People like me don't get that far. Those thoughts don't just sit in your head. They vote in every decision. They decide what you start, how much effort you give, and exactly when you quit. They decide who you become. And here's the hardest part to admit. Your current results are not betraying you. They are obeying you. They are loyal to the beliefs you've repeated for years. If that stings a little, let it. That sting is awareness waking up. Because the moment you see the pattern, you can stop calling it bad luck and start calling it by its real name. Mental programming. Have you noticed this in your own life? A specific area where you keep circling the same result no matter what you try? If this is connecting with you, gently tap that like button so more people in your situation can find this message. And if you're ready to rewrite that inner script instead of reliving it, consider subscribing. From this point on, we're not entertaining your autopilot. We're challenging it. Notice how this law has already been operating in your life, quietly, without your permission. Every time you said, that's just how I am, or things never work out for me, you weren't describing reality, you were programming it. Your dominant thoughts have been acting like a silent script, and your life has been following it with frightening obedience. Think back to your last big decision. Maybe it was about money, a career move, a relationship, a health change. On the surface, it seemed rational. But if you look deeper, you'll see something else at work. A belief that was already there, long before the decision appeared. If, deep down, you believe you're not the kind of person who earns well, you will sabotage opportunities, delay actions, or choose the safe road dressed up as being responsible. If you believe love always ends badly, you'll unconsciously prove yourself right, over and over again. This is the mental law at play. Your dominant thoughts seek expression in your reality. Not the thoughts you wish you had. The thoughts you actually repeat. Silently, daily, especially when no one is watching. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are mentally coherent with. And coherence doesn't care about your dreams. It cares about your patterns. So if your biggest goals feel too far, the question is not, why is life so hard? The real question is, what am I mentally coherent with right now? Stories of sacrifice? Of always being the one who helps but never receives? Stories of trying and failing so you've decided it's safer not to try? Stories of being too old, too late, or not smart enough? Pause for a second and really look at your own story. Which sentence do you repeat so often that it has almost become your identity? If this is resonating, it's a sign you've started to see the pattern. That alone is powerful. Most people never reach this point. Gently tap like if this is making you rethink some of your truths. And tell me, what's one belief you now suspect has been quietly limiting you? If you're ready to rewrite that inner script instead of living the same chapter again, consider subscribing. The next parts of this journey will show you how to change that mental coherence on purpose. Notice how this inner script shows up in the small, ordinary moments. You tell yourself you'll wake up earlier to study, work out, or build that side project. At night, the intention is strong. In the morning, your hand reaches for the snooze button before you're even fully conscious. That wasn't a random choice. That was your mental pattern running on schedule. You decide you're going to be more disciplined with money. You watch a video, get inspired, even write down a plan. Then, on a stressful day, you deserve a treat, and buy something you don't need. Again, the old script quietly takes the wheel. This is how the mental law works. Your dominant thoughts don't just live in your mind. They leak into your habits. And your habits decide your future. If deep down you believe, I never follow through, your mind will present you with excuses, distractions, even sudden fatigue, precisely when you're close to doing something important. Not because you're cursed, but because your inner world is trying to stay consistent with what you believe about yourself. That's mental coherence. Your results lining up with your inner identity. So ask yourself, honestly, when I'm alone with my thoughts, what do I consistently rehearse? Failure? Embarrassment? People like me don't get that far? Or do you allow yourself to picture a different version of you, one who decides, acts, and finishes? You don't change this script with hype or fake positivity. You change it by noticing it, questioning it, and then practicing new thoughts long enough that they start to feel natural. The next time you catch yourself on autopilot, scrolling, procrastinating, giving up too soon, pause for a second. That pause is power. That's the moment you can either replay the old story or write a new line. If this is resonating, let it sink in before you rush to the next video. Maybe even tap like so you remember this point later. What's one recurring pattern in your life that you now see as part of your inner script? Put it in the comments. Naming it is the first step to changing it. And if you're ready to keep rewriting this script with intention, consider subscribing. This isn't about more information. It's about building a new mental pattern, one deliberate choice at a time. And this is where most people get stuck without even realizing it. You've probably had phases of huge excitement. A new course, a side business, a big goal. For a few days or weeks, you're on fire. You watch videos, take notes, plan everything. You tell yourself, this time, it's different. But then, life happens. Work gets busy. Family needs you. You get tired. One setback hits, then another. And little by little, your intensity drops. You still like the idea, but the action slows down. The momentum dies. The dream goes back on the shelf with all the others. From the outside, it looks like bad timing, overwhelm, or lack of discipline. From the inside, on the level Napoleon Hill is talking about, it's something else, your old mental program winning the battle. Because every time you stretch beyond your usual results, your mind quietly asks, is this really who we are? Is this safe? Do we actually believe we can hold this level of success? If the honest answer is no, your mind will pull you back to what it knows. Not what you want, what it knows. That's why people repeat the same income range for years. That's why relationships follow the same script with different faces. That's why your motivation seems to have an invisible ceiling. Your subconscious is not evil. It's loyal. Painfully loyal to the identity you've rehearsed for years. Here's the turning point. Instead of blaming circumstances, you start asking, what part of me is committed to staying where I am? This question is uncomfortable and powerful, because the moment you see how you've been unconsciously protecting your limits, you also see that you can consciously expand them. If this is resonating, pause for a second and acknowledge it. Just that awareness is a step out of autopilot. Tell me in the comments, in what area of your life do you clearly see this pattern repeating? If you're recognizing yourself in this and you're ready to rewrite that inner script instead of living the same year on repeat, subscribe. The next parts of this series are going to help you design that new mental program on purpose. Here's something Napoleon Hill understood long before mindset became a trendy word. You don't get what you wish for. You get what you're mentally loyal to. You can say you want abundance, but if your dominant thought is, things never work out for me, your mind will keep guiding you back to situations that confirm exactly that. Not because you're cursed, but because your subconscious is obsessively trying to stay coherent with what you deeply believe. Think back on your last few years. How many times did you get excited about a new idea and then slowly ghost your own project? How often did you start something with energy, only to let it die once it became uncomfortable, uncertain, or slow to pay off? That pattern isn't random. That's mental alignment at work. Your actions are protecting your old identity. If, at a deep level, you see yourself as someone who never finishes, your brain will constantly look for reasons to stop, and every time you quit, it feels strangely right, even if it hurts. That's the power of a dominant idea. It quietly pulls your behavior back to what feels familiar, not what's possible. This is why people can read books, watch videos, repeat affirmations, and still feel stuck. The words are new, but the inner image is old. You're trying to build a new life on top of a self-concept that keeps whispering, "This isn't you." So your job now is not just to think positive. It's to choose, with almost stubborn seriousness, the mental picture you will be faithful to from now on. Who are you deciding to be? Not someday, not when everything gets easier, but now with your current bank account, responsibilities, and fears. If this is resonating, don't just nod and scroll. Pause and ask yourself, what is one identity you've been unconsciously loyal to that you are no longer willing to obey? If you're ready to rewrite that inner script, hit like so this message doesn't disappear in your feed. Share your answer in the comments, and subscribe. From here on, each video will help you strengthen the new identity you're choosing, instead of the old one that's been choosing for you. You've probably noticed something. When your mind isn't clearly occupied with something that pulls you forward, it automatically drifts back to what's familiar. Even if familiar means frustration. This is the default of the mind. Repetition, not evolution. Napoleon Hill called this drifting. A mental state where you're not exactly failing, but you're not really progressing either. You're busy, but not building. You're tired, but not fulfilled. You're moving, but mostly in circles. And here's the uncomfortable truth. If you don't give your mind a precise, dominating direction, it will gladly accept one from your fears, your past, or from other people. You've felt this before. You say you want more income, but your dominant thought is, I don't want to lose money. You want a healthier relationship, but your dominant thought is, I don't want to be rejected again. You want to start the project, but your dominant thought is, I don't want to fail publicly. Your mind doesn't follow what you wish. It follows what you rehearse. Every day, your repeated thoughts are training your nervous system. What to notice, what to avoid, what to pursue, and what to sabotage for your own protection. So here's the shift. You can't just want a new life. You must install a new dominant idea, one that is clearer, stronger, and more emotionally charged than your fears. That's why vague desires don't work. I want more money is weak. I am building a second source of income by learning X and executing Y this year is a dominant idea. It gives your mind instructions. It creates coherence between what you think, what you feel, and what you do. Pause for a moment and be honest with yourself. Right now, what is the real dominant idea running your life? Is it survival? Avoiding embarrassment? Waiting for the right time? If this is resonating, hit like so this type of content keeps showing up for you, and more importantly, so you remember this moment. Then answer in the comments. What new dominant idea are you willing to install in your mind from today on? If you're ready to stop drifting and start directing your mind with intention, subscribe. From here on, every video will help you reinforce that new script until your actions and your results have no choice but to follow. You're not just passively having thoughts. You're broadcasting commands. Every time you repeat to yourself, I'm bad with money, I never finish what I start, I'm too old for that, your mind does not treat those as complaints, treats them as instructions. And here is the most uncomfortable part. Your current life is proof that your mind has been extremely obedient, not to your desires, to your dominant thoughts. You might say you want financial freedom, but if your mental dialogue is soaked in fear, doubt, and this won't work for me, your subconscious will quietly guide you back toward what feels familiar, not what is possible. This is the mental law Napoleon Hill pointed to. Your subconscious mind cannot distinguish between a thought you accept as true and a reality you actually want. It simply works to make the dominant thought the dominant experience. That means every time you imagine the worst, obsess about what might go wrong, or replay past failures, you're rehearsing a future you don't want, and your mind is taking notes. So you need to ask yourself honestly, what future are you rehearsing in your head all day? Because if your inner movie is a constant loop of doubt, debt, procrastination, or rejection, your actions will quietly align with that script. You'll hesitate when you should act. You'll quit when you should persist. You'll feel blocked without seeing that you're the one holding the brakes. Now, pause for a second and look at your own life. Can you notice one area where your results perfectly mirror your inner narrative? If this is landing for you, take a moment to like this video, not as a favor to me, but as a small signal to yourself, I'm paying attention to this. Then tell me in the comments, what is one belief about yourself that you are now willing to question? Because the moment you question a belief, it starts to lose its absolute power over you. And if you want a mind that works for you, not against you, consider subscribing. From this point on, you're not here for passive motivation. You're here to rewrite the script that has been quietly writing your life. You've probably noticed something. Once you start paying attention to your thoughts, it gets uncomfortable. You begin to see how many times, in a single day, you quietly tell yourself, I'll never get out of this situation. I always mess it up in the end. People like me don't reach that level. Those phrases are not innocent. They are commands, orders, and your subconscious, loyal and obedient, works day and night to make them true. Napoleon Hill called this autosuggestion, the constant repetition of ideas that eventually become reality in your life. You've already been using this power for years, just not consciously. Every time you rehearse a fear, you're practicing for failure. Every time you replay an old humiliation, you're renewing the contract with that identity. Every time you say, this is just who I am, you're closing a door that could have opened. So here is your turning point. You don't need to believe in this law for it to work. It is already working. The only question is, are you going to keep programming yourself by accident or start programming yourself on purpose? This doesn't mean repeating empty affirmations you don't feel. It means choosing thoughts that align with the person you're becoming and holding them long enough for your nervous system to get used to them. When your mind says, you're going to fail again, you interrupt, no, I'm learning to persist. This time I'm finishing. First, it will feel fake. Of course it will. You're not used to respecting yourself. But repetition creates familiarity, and familiarity becomes identity. Pay attention to what you're telling yourself when you're tired, when you're rejected, when money is tight. That is the moment your real programming shows up. And that is exactly where you have the power to rewrite it. If this is hitting a nerve, pause for a second and just acknowledge it. That awareness alone is a shift. Now I want to ask you, what is one sentence you've been repeating to yourself for years that you're finally willing to change? Tell me in the comments, name it, and write the new version you choose from now on. And if you're serious about not living on mental autopilot anymore, subscribe. These next steps are for people who've decided to take back the steering wheel. There's one more trap you need to recognize before you walk away from this video thinking, okay, I got it. You don't got it until your environment, your calendar, and your behavior begin to change. Until then, it's just information floating in your head. Your subconscious doesn't care about what you like on social media. It only responds to what you repeat, what you emotionally reinforce, and what you do. So now the real question is, how do you turn this mental law from an insight into a new standard for your life? You start small, but you start deliberately. Instead of waking up and letting your mind wander to problems, bills, and what might go wrong, you give it an instruction. The simple one. Today, everything I do aligns with the life I'm building, not the life I'm escaping. Then you act in accordance even in one area, your work, your money, your health, your relationships. One concrete choice that says, I am no longer acting from the old script. This isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's about refusing to let random thoughts and old fears keep driving the car. You already know how it feels to live on autopilot. Weeks that blur together, projects that never leave the notebook, that quiet guilt that whispers, you should be further ahead by now. You don't get out of that by hating yourself into action. You get out by deciding, from now on, my dominant thoughts serve my future, not my past. If this is hitting something in you, notice that. That's your mind recognizing itself in the mirror. You can ignore that and scroll to the next distraction, or you can use this moment as a line in the sand. What's the one area of your life where you most feel this mental autopilot controlling you? Money, career, health, or relationships? Pause and answer that honestly to yourself. If you're comfortable, share it in the comments. Naming it is the first act of taking power back. If this video is helping you see your own patterns with more clarity, give it a like so this message reaches more people who feel stuck like you do. And if you're ready to keep reprogramming that inner script, step by step, law by law, subscribe. Not as a casual click, but as a commitment. I'm done living by accident. From now on, I think on purpose. So now you're here, at the end of this video, with one uncomfortable but powerful truth on the table. Your life is not being driven by luck. It's being driven by law, by mental law. You've seen how your dominant thoughts shape your decisions, how your decisions shape your habits, and how your habits quietly build the results you're living today. This isn't about blaming yourself for the past. It's about finally understanding it. Those half-finished projects, the ideas you abandoned, the chances you watched slip by, they weren't random. They were consistent with the inner story you were running, often without noticing. But now you've noticed. And from this moment on, I didn't know is no longer true. You do know. That's where the real choice begins. You can close this video, nod in agreement, and go back to the same mental autopilot. Or you can decide that today is the day you start living with mental coherence on purpose. That doesn't mean shouting affirmations and hoping for miracles. It means taking responsibility for what you allow to dominate your mind. It means asking, over and over, does this thought serve the life I say I want? Does this belief belong to my future or to my past? Is this decision aligned with the person I'm becoming or the person I'm tired of being? Because if your thoughts and your desires keep pulling in opposite directions, you already know which side will win. Your mind will always create coherence. Your results will always match your dominant inner pattern, not your occasional moments of motivation. So let this be the quiet turning point. If this message woke something up in you, let it register. Hit like so your mind remembers, this matters to me. And now, the question only you can answer. Are you willing to take command of your inner script, day after day, even when no one is watching? If your answer is yes, not just emotionally but as a decision, then subscribe. Not as a casual click, but as a commitment. From here on, you don't live on mental autopilot. You build your thoughts with intention, so your life can finally follow.